Hello, folks, and welcome to the latest edition of CrimsonCast, a special live podcast from the Uptown Café. And we'd like to thank Uptown, Galen Cassidy, Michael Cassidy, for helping us to set this up. And we are joined by Indiana men's soccer head coach Todd Yeagley. Coach, great to have you here. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's good to be at Uptown, one of my favorite spots in Bloomington.
The place to come if you want to watch soccer or talk soccer.
For sure.
And
for
how long has that been the case?
Well, I think Michael and the family have created that here. Everyone's known in Bloomington. If there's going to be a big match on, Uptown's going to have it, and we appreciate that. So there's been a lot of fun soccer history, great stories in this building, and obviously we know how great the food is. So this is a special place for everyone.
Absolutely. We are on the precipice of the 2025 season starting for Indiana men's soccer. And, you know, the tradition just continues. You come into another season, you're ranked in the top 15 this time. And when you look at this squad, as you've made it all the way through now your first preseason game, how are you feeling coming into this season?
Overall good. I mean, we've replaced 7 starters with a team of 10 new players that weren't here last year this time. That's a lot. However, some of those are here in the spring, which has given us a bit of an advantage to get going with them. A few, Cristiano Bruletti, who didn't play in the spring due to injury, but he was here. Jacopo Fredrizzi, our Italian via Evansville, came in early. So a few examples of guys that are still new but have been here at least a semester to get kind of their feet wet. Yeah. And then we brought in 4 true freshmen, a good mix of talent positionally, and obviously a few other transfers that joined us just here in this, obviously preseason. We had them committed in the winter/spring portal window, but were essential to replace, again, 7 starters. So, I mean, you're a week into it, Galen. It's, you don't always get, whether it's not looking great or it's looking really good, you got to manage that a little bit. That said, I'll be honest, I'm not going to give you coach speak. I mean, I think we're ahead of maybe where I thought we would be a week in with all those pieces gone. Yeah. With a good showing last night against a really good Western team that we can chat about. But, yeah, I mean, we're throwing a lot at them. I think every year the staff, we've tried to be really intentional about how much we can give them at certain stages, prioritizing how we layer on the way we want to play. With our video work, with just the training load, we're just getting smarter and hopefully better each year at doing that so we can be the most ready we can be, game one.
I was going to ask about that because it's a quick turnaround from when you're starting practice to when the season starts. So just a few weeks, if that. How difficult is it to onboard everybody to what you want to do and adjust to the changing roster and who you've got back, especially with now portal kids coming in and having to replace people that way, coming out of different systems, and just the idea that you hit the ground running every year. You've always got at least one, if not a couple of ranked opponents right off the bat.
We do. We create that schedule on purpose, and everyone, I think our fans love it. They do. They want to see us play tough games. However, people might say, hey, Coach, sometimes it's a tough, slow start. And I'm like, well, look over 50-some years, majority of the losses have come early if we've had them, and that's where if you're going to take them there, because you're going to learn where your team's at. Those teams, if they're good, they're not going to hurt you in the RPI postseason picture. So you test yourself, and so it's philosophically, I think, important for us.
Right.
Not just because we've always done it. I think you got to be careful on not just doing what you used to do, and we got to be able to adapt and change. And we're doing that in a lot of other areas, but scheduling philosophy has stayed pretty intact. It's a heavier home slate to start, which I think will help this newer group. And, yeah, I'm certainly excited. But back to the onboarding, yeah, we don't have access in the summer. So we're relying on them being fit and ready. That's a lot of communication through Bobby and our sports performance team and our staff. But they're off doing training with other teams. Some are playing summer ball, which is a pretty competitive USL 2 or MPSL, depends on which league. So it's a puzzle to make sure everyone's getting what they need versus what a football would have is an onboarding in person where they're training with the coaches and they're able to really manage at least their physical preparation. Yeah. So we're always kind of crossing our fingers that they come in ready, because if they don't, we can't get them fit in 10 days. Right. We can tweak it and get them better, but they're just that player will be behind, and we'll have to move into the rotation at that point. So physically being ready is key, and then from there making sure they come in healthy and ready, and then we layer on what we can with the tactical piece.
You had a nice start to preseason last night. Play Western Michigan, who's been a very good team. They've been a regular in the NCAA tournament, but a 5-0 victory in that one. What did you like seeing out of that game? What did you take away from it?
Well, first we lost a lot of scoring. So where are the goals going to come? And I think last night showed this team is going to have some different firepower and potentially more balanced. In particular, our restarts, I think, will be a new area of strength this year, which was not last year. And our first goal came off of that. Our service, we have a few more players that are a little bit more dangerous in aerial challenges, being Colton Swan. I think Victor, our transfer from UVA, has got an aerial presence. But Colton Swan in particular, the first goal was a great start and kind of a snapshot of what he can do. We felt in the recruiting he's been the best attacker in the air in 10 years that fits our other qualities that we need. And he showed that last night with some of his play in the air, just in the run of play. So good result. Western Michigan's a physically really good team, and they know who they are. They're going to challenge you with service. They're going to get restarts. They're not going to give up on a play. They're going to test you with discipline because there's a few. They're not a dirty team, but they're right on the edge of like making it hard for you to feel comfortable. I'm putting it nicely. And they did that. I think there was about 7 yellows, and our guys didn't respond negatively. However, I thought we were as physically tough as they were, and that's what I was proud of after the game. I said, guys, that's a team you're going to have to beat to go on a run. Different style than maybe you might face another game in the tournament, but you got to find a way to beat that team. And I thought we did it with good soccer, meaning I thought we held control of the ball, we created good chances, but we also were able to kind of take away their strength of trying to impose their physical will on us. I thought we handled that well.
That's great. You talked a little bit about the loss of offensive production from last year. Tommy Mihalik moves on, Sam Sarver, Justin Weiss. You've got Colin Zaduro back. You've also got some younger pieces from last year that made some contributions scoring-wise. I mean, how do you feel about the capacity of that group to step up? And then who else do you have coming in that we should keep our eye on in front of goal?
Well, take, for instance, who we started in our front four last night. We had one returner, Collins, wide left, who's very flexible in his ability to play different positions. But you had a new player, Palmer Alt, who I didn't really touch on at the beginning, who could be arguably our most important addition with his experience and ability to play, again, in a few adaptive roles in the front. He's fantastic, and he didn't play a lot last night. He took a little head hit, so we got him out. But he was playing central with Colton Swan, a new player, true freshman. And then wide right was Jacopo, who is, again, new to our team. So 3 of those 4 were all new pieces. However, it looked as though they had played together for a little bit, and that's positive. With Palmer here in the spring helped. Colton's brand new, and Jacopo obviously being here in the spring. So really one player that hasn't been here, but still it's different when it's the fall, and it feels more real. This is where guys either shine or some get a little anxious. And so even your first game, although it's been maybe spring you've had, it's still a little different, even suiting up for an exhibition. So I think from those 4, you'll see a balanced scoring look. And obviously Charlie Hoyer, who came on last year really late to give us more of an attacking midfield look, he's going to be featured this year in either the central midfield or maybe advanced roles higher. His goal last night with Jacopo I thought was beautiful. Jacopo's through ball to Charlie's kind of late run, and his composure and his finish was excellent. So Charlie Hoyer, I think, had 4 goals as a freshman with not a lot of minutes. There's no doubt he can improve that number and help us in other ways. And we're going to get some production off restarts, and obviously some of our outside backs are going to find a goaler here or there. Maybe not Andrew Grootman number, 11. But I don't want to say there's a cap. Who knows? But we're not expecting that. So I think it's going to be a balance. And I didn't mention some of the guys in a rotation that can come in. Nessie, Bogard, you name it, Clay Murdo. I mean, we have a lot of firepower that's coming off the bench that has had some minutes for us.
This is CrimsonCast. We're recording live at the Uptown Café with head men's soccer coach Todd Yeagley. Todd, one of the intriguing positions people are watching coming in is at goalkeeper. You've had JT Harms here for the last couple of years, but it's a bit more of an open competition this year. What are you seeing out of that group?
Well, I want to first say that these four is probably the most competitive four we've had, top to bottom, 1 through 4. Really, really happy, and that can be challenging because when you have that many that are that close to the higher echelon, meaning 1 2s, you got to manage that, and they got to be supporting their teammate because only 1 or 2 is going to play most likely. So with Cooper and AJ, they're doing a great job, and I'm not even going to put a number because I think they're both capable to step into goal. Cooper played all spring, did wonderfully. He obviously we won every game in the spring, and he had some big moments. And AJ played in 10 games for Louisville as a true freshman, and so both are capable. But the right now the battle is between Holden and Jude, and those two are different than JT Harms. The strengths. They're bigger. They have a bigger, more range with their ability to kind of handle the box and their kind of special save capacity. That JT was a smaller keeper, so you can't get upset if it's one that Roman could get to.
Right.
People would ask, why can't Roman made that? I'm like, Roman's also starting MLS right now, so let's put that in perspective. But I think Holden and Jude, although JT made some big saves, could make the one that Roman made that you're like, okay, that's different. Right. And that keeps you in games, whether it's the one chance they get or a team that's on you for a little bit. And both played 60. We played 120 last night. Both performed well. It's a wonderful battle, and both are supportive of each other. And we'll just see how this plays out. Holden being here and having some experience, I think certainly kind of pushes him a little bit ahead. At this point, if we started a game tomorrow, but I wouldn't throw it out, Galen, that maybe tactically the different challenge of a game, we might flip that player potentially, which I've not done as a head coach here ever. I've typically just gone with one and maybe make a change, but I typically don't flip back and forth. Again, I can't be stubborn in the way I do things. So if that's best for this team, maybe we'll see and approach it that way.
Any other positional battles right now that fans should look out for or that you find particularly intriguing as a coach?
We do. I think our team said it. I think our competition, I don't think we've had this much true competition in about every spot and as we've had in years past. And so that's a good thing as a coach and a staff. You want a couple just to kind of pull away and be like, okay, that's clearly, no matter how good of a day, we're going to keep him on the field. I think Palmer and a couple – even Palmer having a tougher day, like he'll find his way on the field just because of the things he brings. But you look at right back, we have Bendo, Nolan Kinsella, and Brecken Minzy all played there last night. Center back, you have Brecken Minzy, Drew Gaydosh, obviously Victor, and Josh, our returning starter. What's going to be the combo? Josh is the glue guy, clearly gets the kind of best out of the player next to him. Who's that going to be? That might rotate. Left back, Barger, I think, now has a little bit different competition because we can flip Bendo to left back if we need to. He played there for Penn for basically most of his career in a very good Penn team. But having a left-sided player is great to have on the field. But Barger, he loves the competition. But it's truly we can make a switch there if we need to tactically or if there's a run of form. And then the midfield, we always try to build a 3-for-2 in the middle. And right now with Jack Wagner, I think, with his experience, Charlie Hoyer's emergence as a real kind of two-way 8, and then Bruletti, our transfer from Michigan State, and that's not holding a few others that are close, but those three I think can really give us a look. Who starts, who comes in, what minutes, I don't know yet, but that's a really good thing because to go 90 minutes for what we ask of our pressing moments, it's a lot. Our midfield covers a lot of ground. Yeah. And if we were a mid-block, deep-block team, a little bit different, a lot of screening, but we get out in transition. We also press pretty hard most of the time. So that's a lot. Having a rotation that we can trust is really good. And then we've talked about a few of the attacking situations. Colton Swan has been great. Easton Bogart's returning as a guy that can play up high. We have Clay Murador, who's really come back sharp. Gives us a different look wide left. Jacopo plays very different wide right, but there's guys kind of fighting in that spot with Michael Nessie. and there's a few others, not to get too far in the weeds, but it's every spot, as I mentioned. I mean, literally, it's every spot. There's someone capable, and I think a couple of the fans last night, when they talked to him, like, Todd, I don't remember this team being as deep. And I always felt that's the strength of our team, even year in, year out. It is, but potentially this year it could be as one of the deeper teams that we've fielded.
That's exciting. You've got your first regular season game next Thursday. You're taking on Clemson. They're coming here. Top 15 matchup. I think Clemson's 9th in the country. You guys are 11th. Obviously, for the players, that's a really exciting way to start the season. As a coach, as you said earlier, you can take some early hits if you need to get the team up and running, and you want them to play that kind of competition. For you, being able to be involved in so many of these top-level matchups early on in seasons, how much does that help set the pace and the tone for the season for the team?
Well, one really good thing is that, if we played Clemson in 21, I believe, was it 21? Yes, on the road. I think it was 21. Yeah. We lost the game, and yet the next game was another monster. And so you have no time to, live in the past. You got to quickly move on, and you have excitement of the next challenge. So that's what also the season does for us, is that the next game is as exciting. The players know that every game is critical, but yet there's opportunities throughout if the game doesn't go well. And we know in our game is, Galen, you love the game too. You can play great and find a weird moment, and the result doesn't go your way. It doesn't happen often in basketball and other sports where you dominate a team on every statistic and find your way at a tie. In this case, with no overtime, ties are tough, and it doesn't reflect maybe the performance of the group, which I'm not a big fan of the no overtime. But back to the Clemson, I really feel that, it's going to be an electric atmosphere. I mean,
But I was going to get to that. I mean, these are the kinds of games that IU soccer fans just swarm, and we've seen sellouts, we've seen close to sellouts. The atmosphere is always incredible in Bill Armstrong Stadium when these games happen.
Well, we have two really important fan bases. Our Bloomington community, which includes someone like yourself who loves the sport, might have kids that play it, so maybe it's a double dip, or it's just the parent who is into soccer because their kids are in it. That's the super important part, and that fills a lot of our seats, in particular on that south side. And then the north side around the field, our students really are the X factor. And knowing it's Thursday heading into class, I've been around a long time. What you typically see is just students in big patches walking around campus looking for something to do. Well, we got something to do for them.
That's right.
And no doubt they can impact the game. I think once they show up and realize that they're on the board, they're 4 yards from touching a player, literally, their voice and their noise and their support it makes the difference. It really does. And then you have the band playing. You have the whole thing going. Obviously, with the video board this year, there's just extra elements that I think make our game day atmosphere wonderful. But I want to, the students always kind of take us into a new level of noise and energy, and we certainly hope that we had a great, I think we ended up finishing second or third in the country in attendance last year, which is where we should be. This year, it's like, can we win it? Can we win that? We love winning. Let's win the attendance record this year.
I love it. That's the kind of talk I like to hear. A couple other things I wanted to touch on, not immediately about this season. You mentioned Roman Celentano, who's been tearing it up in MLS. You've got all of these program alums from your time as coach who have been having amazing careers in this league. And this is a league that I believe we're on like the 30th anniversary of you getting drafted into the league before it had even started. And you played for several years. How special is it to now watch your players being some of the top stars in this league, and what's it been like watching MLS grow over this last 30 years? It's
really fun. I mean, it's small examples. We're at the house, and I have a lot of old jerseys that are in the basement, and I've never really shown the guys some of that. We were there, and I kind of open it up, and I'm like, hey, look at some of these old – they knew I played for the Crew. A lot of them – I'm definitely known as a coach now. I'm not as like the past player. All that bums me out because I did pretty good as a player, but I'm not like, I don't think of me as a player, and I certainly don't kick around with them anymore. So to show them kind of the old and go through stories, I showed them my like combine jersey. I think my number was like 175 because remember, there's no players in the league. So it's just everyone basically trying out to be drafted. And and to see just how things have changed, and now you have current players that are in MLS academies that are training every day in these facilities that are 30 to 50 million. And yet, at the Crew, year one, we're out at the equivalent of Woodlawn kicking out Frisbee golf players at Ohio State. And we're like, no, we're the pro team here. And they're like, I don't care. Because we're playing at the Horseshoe, and it's like that's where the space is for the students. I mean, we're no different than being at Woodlawn. Yeah. And now you see, and we obviously are recruiting these players, and to see the league grow in 30 years is really I got a lot of pride in that because, I was on that first run of teams, and the Crew is still in Columbus, thank goodness. And I got a lot of pride, and we do some cool alumni things. So it's so fun. And so many now of my peers are now in technical roles, coaches, GMs. Obviously, I'm getting older, so they're in some pretty good spots because they've kind of worked their way through the game. And it's just fun to connect with them and see the growth. So I stay really connected as I can, and with my job, I got a lot going on. But I love to talk to our guys in the league, talk to the coaches, the staffs, because again, I think there's one thing that's really evident is that the MLS technical and coaches know that an Indiana player is a player that can be successful at the next level. And there's truth to the drafting that we've seen with that. There's been a lot of trust that this place has helped them develop. And then from there, it's obviously another step in their chapter. And some have stepped in right away, and we've seen that with Roman, and obviously Jansen Miller starting this year, and Sammy getting signed the first team year. I mean, and then we just went through this long group of like the 04 to 06 guys that just wrapped up, the Drew Moores and the Jake Petersons, and that whole group, the Ned Grabovoys, who had 10, 12-year careers. And now we have this next group of guys in there. So I'm equivalent to like a grandparent feel, where it's like I just kind of live through them and don't have to like fully manage everything they're doing and just kind of call them on the good day or lift them on a bad day. But it's super fun for me to be seeing that evolve as well.
Yeah, it's been fun for all of us that have been following along for years as well. Last question I wanted to ask you about is another broader type of question. Huge change going on right now in college athletics, just in general. We've got rev share and we've got NIL. Men's soccer is one of those sports that there's a lot of questions. Like, how does this impact what you do? How does this impact how you feel the team? How does it fit into this larger picture? And you and I have talked about this a bit over time. From your perspective, as you try to navigate these changes, how does it change what you have to do, and what kind of impact does it have on what Indiana is going to be able to do moving forward?
Well, first off, we've been able to bring in transfers, as you know, Galen, for years, and it was big. The big rule change was the immediate playing for football, basketball. So we've lived in a space where transfers were not common, but it was part of the landscape in college soccer. And so you'd have a new player that maybe played Team A, next year Team B, he's playing right away. With the portal, everything is much more, transactional. Kids obviously are entering, and it's not something that's considered a bad thing. It's very common, as we know in some sports, very common. As a coach, who I call myself, I'm hopefully just past the 9. I'm on the back 9, maybe. Some days feel letter in the 9, but I have to adapt. I think the coaches struggling the most are the ones that are on hole 17, 18, and they're like, why is this happening? And teams are really hard to keep as a team, because as coaches that have had a certain level of I wouldn't say the word control, but the system was planned. You knew you'd have a player for 3-4 years, and it wasn't going to be this transactional world that we're in now. Soccer's in a sweet spot. We will not ever go to where it looks like in other sports. One, I don't think it will get to that point transactionally, and two, our culture is too important. We need to develop and have internal players that come through our system. It's important. So how we manage that with our roster build, we're adapting. That's why we saw a few less freshmen, but we're going to rely and we'll continue to rely on players that come through our system, that learn and can help the new guys quickly adapt. And also how we recruit out of the portal is essential. No different than recruiting, in a normal kind of high school age, is that you got to really make sure it fits your needs. And character for us is one of our top 6 pillars, and we will not waver on a talent. It's got to fit. And I always say, like, our transfers that come in, our players often will say it feels like he's been here for a while. And that's what you want, a player that just kind of fits into your group. So yeah, that's real. There's different challenges as a coach with managing the dollars and cents of it. From money's coming in different areas. However, what you're seeing in football and basketball is a unique, different challenge than the men's soccer, but we are having a smaller version of that going on, and you can't be stuck in certain ways. And so you have to adapt and figure things out, and our staff's working hard at that. But I think what we'll always put a lot of emphasis on is that our culture is so essential. The team is a star here, and having players in and out often like you see in other sports, that's where I see the pushback from coaches that are saying, I'm checking out. Yeah. I don't know if I want this, and do you feel like you're really developing a team anymore? And I feel for those coaches a bit more, because if I was in it, I don't know how I would feel fully about that, but luckily we're in a situation where we're able to sustain players for multiple years. And yeah, a player might go pro, we can quickly replace, but it's not going to be a new team every year like we're seeing in other sports.
Yeah. Culture's always been the thing that has kept this program at the lofty levels that it's been over the course of time. And you can still build that culture even if you're going through the transfer portal, I think is one of the key things. Well, Todd, this has been great. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Again, season opener next Thursday as IU hosts Clemson at Bill Armstrong Stadium. Best of luck on the season, and thanks for joining me here today. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Galen.
And thanks to everybody who was here today, and thanks to everybody who watched or listened in. We'll have more IU men's soccer coverage throughout the course of the season on CrimsonCast. I'm Galen Clavier. We'll catch you folks on the flip side. So long, everybody.